Hey, okay, here we go. Here's another episode of Kendama Gendale and the Fake News. It's Friday, February 24th. And yeah, I just wanted to address a couple feedback things that I've gotten. First of all, I've had some people. I'm super grateful to everyone who who's been watching and who's been following this show. I've had a few people tell me that even after like less than a week of me doing these lazy videos, that I'm their only source of news, which is a tremendous honor. And you should probably find better news sources. But in the meantime, I will do the best job that I can and continue to bring you the news. Secondly, this is Riot. It's on a protocol called Matrix, riot.im. I keep a chat room open here. If you want to send me articles, if you want to send me anything, if you just want to chat, say hi, do whatever, go ahead. Hit me up. The room is Gendale. You're welcome anytime. I may ban you if you're rude, but if not, I think we can have fun. Okay. And the third thing was some people have asked me if I could potentially turn this show into a podcast because I think it would be I've had this thought myself. I think it would be a really good format for a podcast, and it would be very easy. But there are some obstacles. It's really hard to get. It's really hard to get hosting. Um, Hosting, for some reason, I don't know why, but podcast hosting is actually harder to get than YouTube or free video hosting. I don't know why this is. I don't know what causes it, but it does seem to be the case. I work on some other shows. I work on a podcast called Threat Surface, which I'm super proud to work on, but it's really a pain in the butt for us to have to constantly upload to YouTube and to SoundCloud separately. We have to render two different files. We have to upload them both to different websites, and it's just pretty tough. If somebody wants to set up a SoundCloud account or a podcast account and upload these videos themselves, upload the audio from these videos themselves, they're more than welcome to do that. I consider everything I'm doing to be as much in the public domain as I can put it. I would put a Creative Commons Zero license on it if I could. Obviously, I don't own the copyright to any of the articles. I believe that what I'm doing is fair use. If any content creators have any issues with me using their articles, please let me know. I will stop using your news websites if that's what you really want. Yeah, so like I said, and the release schedule for this show, don't forget, is whenever I feel like it. I have done shows every day now for close to a week, which I'm pretty proud of, and these shows are very low impact for me to do, so I can totally continue doing that. But it's important to me to have the process as streamlined as possible. I just like to make these videos and boom, upload them immediately to YouTube. There's no editing involved. I don't have to do any title cards, no theme songs, nothing. You're welcome to use these shows however you want. If that means producing a podcast RSS, you're more than welcome to do that. I don't even care if you make money off of it. If you do make money, you should probably send some to me, but I won't require it. I'll just publicly shame you if you don't. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and start with the news. Thanks for listening. Everything you need to know about Cloudbleed, the latest internet security disaster. Guys, this is the real deal. Cloudbleed is probably the worst security flaw there's ever been. I know this sucks, but you should change every single password that you have, every single one. Um, uh, yeah, So the way Cloudflare works is, let me see. Oh man, I was hoping. Let me try this. I'm just gonna type reverse proxy. All right. So this is how Cloudflare works. You're on the internet. You're here. Usually what you do when you go to a website is you go straight from the internet to the web server. You make a request. The web server finds, okay, I need this web page. Boom, it pops up. One of the problems that happens is you can have a DDoS attack. And when this happens is when thousands of people are here on the internet and they're trying to attack the web, or they're trying to access the web server. When all thousands of them do it at the same time, the web server can crash, or it can get overloaded, or it can get prevented from shutting down. So Cloudflare acts as a free proxy, right? You, instead of going directly to the web server, you go to the proxy. And then if thousands of people do it at once, Cloudflare uses a short little timeout, or they'll use filtering, or they'll ban known IP addresses that have been known to launch DDoS attacks. That's distributed denial of service attacks is what DDoS stands for. So it'll also Cloudflare also offers like a mirroring service for static websites. If there's just like a single article or something, they'll mirror it on their own servers, and then when the load gets really bad, they can just do it there. So the big problem is Cloudflare got hacked. So all of the thousands of sites that potentially go through Cloudflare are now at risk. So there's thousands of websites that are at risk. Some of them are very, very, very major websites. Nobody knows which websites were compromised. Nobody knows when they were using Cloudflare and when they weren't. There's no reliable indicators of any of those things. So seriously, change all your passwords. I know that sucks. I haven't sat down and done it yet. I've been working. I've been uploading shows. It's a tough policy, but you need to do it. You need to go on and you need to change all your passwords. You should be doing this regularly anyways, but yeah, you just change all your passwords, guys. Can't say it enough. Okay, this is an article called "A Change in the Wind." This is by my friend Tatiana Prophet. This is original reporting and interviews with undocumented workers in LA. This is super awesome. I love this article. It's it's a very personal article. It's very well written. It has independent interviews and reporting, and it tells narratives that aren't always told. It has great statistical context here. Really can't recommend this highly enough. Tatiana just started this website. She's doing a great job so far. Really encourage you guys to check it out. Yeah, okay. Okay, here's from the Daily Kos. Will Neville from episode 2 sent this in. This is a bad article. To keep Donald happy, Trump's staff has to ensure he's always receiving praise and adulation. This type of article to me is it's an example of why the Trump administration, to me, is justified in some way in going after the press, because the press is extremely biased, and they're constantly making these, like, remember all through the campaign, and Steve Bannon talks a little bit about this. This is kind of hand in hand. My dad told me to watch this. It was pretty good. I don't know if I really learned anything from it, but if you're the type of person who hasn't really explored any of the Trump narratives that are happening, it is a good introduction to it. It is a good way to figure out kind of where these guys are coming from and what their intentions are. I think they're fairly open about their intentions, though some of the more ambiguous things, it's like nobody still knows what they're going to do. But all the way through the campaign is Donald Trump's campaign is a disaster. They're all in chaos. Nothing is working. Nothing is good. But then, like, they won. How did they do that? Well, maybe it was a little better organized than people said, you know? And so this is just like super far removed from the truth for me, because you have left-wing media, right? In this case, like Daily Kos and Politico, who's trying to create this narrative of the Donald Trump's administration is a disaster. And then you also have like Donald Trump's administration, who occasionally talks to the press and is definitely like going out of their way to troll the press. I just, stories like this, almost like no matter what, is like, no, screw that. It's a load of crap. It really, really, really is. I just dismiss stories like this out of hand. All right, here's this Bannon speech. Like I said, it could be better, but overall it's pretty good. Okay, let's move this over here. The Dakota Access Pipeline protest camp closed. It's there were fires that were set. I've got a few articles here. This one's from the Seattle Times. This one is from Raw Story, and this is about the Standing Rock Sioux chairman claims that Trump is absolutely not in touch with the tribe. This is something we've seen kind of repeatedly from the Trump camp, is where they claim to be in talks with people, and then the people will say, like, I don't know if we're really in talks. I don't know quite what's going on here. I would tend to believe the people who say they aren't in talks. I have wondered a little bit if the Sioux tribe maybe made some kind of deal or something like that, because they did tell the protesters all kind of to leave. They didn't necessarily have a particularly good reason. It seemed like. The other thing is, I've always been a little leery of the Dakota Access Pipeline protest because it seems to be on like a little shaky ground, so to speak. There's always been some questions of whether or not the Sioux tribe actually owns the land that's in contention, right? And this is the type of thing that can sort of undermine a movement or undermine a protest. There are a lot of people sending him money. I'm not saying that this is bad. I think of all the activists you could send money to, the Sioux tribe is like, yeah, go for that, do that. But yeah. So anyway, they're claiming that Trump's not in contact with the Sioux tribe. The protests are closed. On this Time Magazine article, Garrison sent me this. This one's pretty good. They got a lot of interviews with people from the tribes and stuff. It's worth checking out. Anyway, bummed it ended this way, but I don't know any other way it could have ended. Pipelines get built. They always get built. The oil companies run the government. The government works for the oil companies. The press works for the oil companies. Oil pipelines get built all the time. I think the Dakota Access Pipeline protests, where they did a really good job of challenging that authority. I think they've done a better job than anyone has. But pipelines get built, and this one is no exception. VX nerve gas used to kill Kim Jong-nam, police say. I don't really know what's going on here. I've heard from people who used to work with chemical weapons and that sort of thing. They're saying if somebody has VX nerve gas and they can kill Kim Jong-nam with it, then that means ISIS or ISIL or Daesh or whatever you're calling them can also have it. It's a chemical weapon. It's a weapon of mass destruction. It's very dangerous. This stuff can kill you in like 15 minutes. I think it's the nerve gas from the movie The Rock, starring Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage and directed by Michael Bay, but I haven't seen that in a while, so I don't quite remember. Yeah, this is kind of a crazy story, and I don't really quite understand the full implications of it. It's very scary. VX nerve gas is a very scary thing. Coffee shops, co-working space in the freelance economy in Bozeman. Okay, this is from another friend of mine who's producing this website called Alchemydia. I like his whole vibe so far. He tells local stories about Bozeman people. They're very personal. They've got a great narrative. He's got a great authorial voice, and they really, to me, he does a perfect job of capturing what it's like to basically like live in the Bridgers, to live and have the lifestyle that I and so many others are so grateful to have. Bozeman's definitely a freelance town. I've done tons of work at coffee shops, and coffee shops they're a really cool shared space that a lot of people really enjoy or are grateful for. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of texts. Don't mind me. Right. Huma Aberdeen's emails confirm Hillary was complicit in murder of Ambassador Stevens. So this is a Benghazi story. It's not good. This is an example of coverage of WikiLeaks that isn't good. It isn't the worst coverage of WikiLeaks, but it's still not good. Okay, so basically, this is saying, and it's using WikiLeaks to support this idea that Hillary Clinton was aware of Ambassador Stevens' whereabouts up to the moment of his death, which is something that she's denied in the various hearings and stuff that has happened. The thing that this article does right is it actually does quote actual emails. Oh, these are FOIA'd emails. I thought these were WikiLeaks emails. So my mistake. Excuse me. but in general, I think the principle holds, right? Where if you have a story that's based on publicly available documents and you're creating a narrative based on evidence that's public domain at this point, you have to link to the evidence. You can't just write a think piece and not link to anything. You have to link to the emails. You have to link to the WikiLeaks. You have to link to the FOIA documents. And then the other thing this does that's really bad is basically it makes a claim and it makes a narrative claim, and then the actual emails backing that up don't necessarily prove the claim that you originally made. You write this long thing, you put some links in the middle of it, and then nobody bothers to click through and read them and verify that your evidence is correct. They just say, oh, well, there's evidence, and they go with it. Yeah, so this is USA News Today. This is not a good fake news. This is fake news, more fake news. Okay. Expect greater enforcement of marijuana laws under Trump, Spicer says. This one's kind of interesting. This one I was a little bit surprised about. I didn't really expect Trump in the past has said that marijuana should be a states' rights issue. I think the code here might be that Trump defers to states' rights on issues that Republican states support. For example, the transgender bathroom laws, he says, is a states' right issue. So we're going to let the states decide because he's maybe more left-wing on that issue but doesn't want to piss off his base. So he says, let's the states decide. And then recreational marijuana is something that's happened mostly in liberal states. So in states, in policies that have been adopted by mostly liberal states, he say, no, the federal government's going to intervene. That to me seems like mostly how he's playing this whole states' rights thing with partisan politics. I'm not super sure. This doesn't make a ton of sense to me. The other issue, and the reason this doesn't make sense is because if you look at the popularity polls of marijuana and whether or not we should legalize marijuana, it's the type of thing that it has increased linearly since 1979 and onward. And at this point, more people think marijuana should be legalized than don't. I should be careful making that claim because I haven't looked at evidence in like years, literally. But I'm fairly confident that that's true. And it's weird to me that Trump would take a stand against something that the majority of Americans believe in, because he tends to very, very rarely take positions. And when he does take positions on things, it's things that have a pretty solid majority support among the American population. So this is kind of a weird thing. And of course, everyone knows that Donald Trump doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do drugs, doesn't do any of these things. So this might just be one of these weird personal things that he's doing. I don't really know. We'll have to see exactly what greater enforcement of marijuana laws under Trump means. Okie doke, we did it. That's about it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Yeah, have a good one.